Welcome to another inspiring episode of the Elite Expert Insider Podcast. Hosts Melanie Johnson and Jenn Foster are the owners of Elite Online Publishing. They're both Wall Street Journal, USA Today best-selling authors. We're really glad you're here because this podcast was designed for you. Meet industry experts that share their secrets and strategies. Get successful results for your business in money, relationships, health, and your life. Each episode is going to inspire you to take action towards reaching your greatness.
Hey everyone, it's Melanie Johnson. I'm here with my business partner, Jenn Foster at Elite Online Publishing. Hey, Jenn.
Hey everyone, how's it going today?
I hope everyone's having a fantastic day. I know that we are going to learn about how to get financial freedom, how to own your financial future. Have you been thinking about how to own your financial future? We have one of the authors of Money Bitch. I just love the name of the title of that book. In the green room, we were talking about Britney Spears' song of, you got to work, bitch. And Kim Kardashian just talked about, people want to know how they get successful as me. Well, you got to work. You have to work at it. So we're not going to just teach you how to work at it, but Nicholle Overkamp is here. She's going to give you specific strategies. So you're not just trying to do things, aimlessly. You're going to have strategies for a financial future and business coach. She's a business coach. We're going to talk about business strategies as well. So welcome, Nicholle. Thanks for coming today.
Thank you. Why don't you tell us, Nicholle, a little bit about yourself and how you got into the financial space?
Sure. So I got into the financial space actually right out of college. One of my many jobs while I was putting myself through school was working part-time for a financial advisor. And even though I initially thought I wanted to be an attorney, I quickly changed my mind after I fell asleep during a lot of internships. And so I realized it might not be for me. And I really fell in love with the combination of what the industry had to provide in terms of the ability to help people and really see through that impact. And then on the other side, the constant growth, constant learning, constant changing. And I get bored quickly. And to me, it just seemed like a sector that was so exciting and interesting and really provided quite a bit in terms of what I could do in terms of growth. So that is how I got started. There wasn't, I didn't want to be a financial advisor when I was a child. And so, and grew from there. And I stayed with a very large financial firm for a few years and realized as I learned more about what it was like to be in the real world, that it wasn't for me. It wasn't in alignment with who I was becoming, who I wanted to serve. I wasn't interested in the big company, heavy sales, heavy competition as much as I was in true holistic financial planning. And so in 2012 is when I founded Wilcox Financial Group and wanted to create a space where it wasn't intimidating. There wasn't a huge dog and pony show where there's this big unnecessary formality around wealth building and true financial advice. And so we created this boutique firm and wanted to be comfortable, a space for women to come in and feel vulnerable and be able to talk about anything while we give them that advice and education in plain English, which really is almost where Money Bitch came from. It's like, hey, what does it mean? That sounds kind of fun. I'm intrigued because financial planning doesn't sound all that sexy, right? And so over the years, I grew the firm. And then from that came PowHERhouse Money Coaching, which through PowHERhouse really was formed because of all the things that we weren't able to do through Wilcox Financial or the lessons I learned. So the money coaching is really that boot camp for women who aren't ready for financial planning yet. Sometimes that's overkill and you just need to work on your mindset, your habits, your behaviors. And then the business coaching and the programs that I created behind that really came from the experience of failing fast, from building the firm in an environment where everybody told me I was never going to make it, where working with women was a horrible idea, and starting from ground zero to building it to seven figures. And so I learned quite a bit and learned what not only what you need from a strategy perspective, but from a confidence mindset perspective. And now I spend a bit of time coaching other women in service-based industries to avoid some of the mistakes that I made, but getting them to where they want to go in a much more quick manner.
Well, and I like what you have is that you're really having women seek out help. And a lot of us don't seek out help. We're just lost and in this abyss. And then you teach them how to set boundaries and really take action. But if you don't have that help first, you don't know how to take action. And talk about a little bit, you're starting with the mindset. And I've just realized recently how important it is to start with that, because so many times we have these blocks in our head, and finding out what that is and to clear the space for it. What do you do with your clients to help them get through that?
A lot of it is getting them to be honest with themselves and meeting them where they are. You know, the reality of it is building wealth is almost impossible if you don't have the right mindset in place, the right disciplines. You know, it's so much to do with that. And so getting them to really think about what it is that they want to achieve, and then knowing they're worth the effort to put in the work. You said earlier, you know, Kim Kardashian was saying, you don't get wealthy or you don't have what I have without working really hard. And going through the financial planning process or achieving any goal for that matter, like you have to understand you're worth the effort. And that means to some degree, what society makes us feel like quote unquote selfish for, right? And putting yourself first, it requires that. And it requires doing things that are uncomfortable consistently, not just once in a while. And so getting them to buy in on that and realizing and owning that they're important enough to do these things, and in getting them to anchor that future that they do see themselves having, and in releasing, I think, some of those fears as well currently that might be holding them back in those blocks that some of us have. And, you know, women, you know, myself included, we're so good at fabricating these stories in our heads that aren't necessarily true, or we're hung up on an old self versus what our future self is capable of achieving. Yeah. And so, you know, working through all of that is so critical before we really get to that next level.
Yeah, I like what you said about that, because besides your mindset, you do have to have that self-worth and know your value. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times we have a past that pretty much was telling us that we didn't have value or that we didn't contribute, even though we were doing everything behind the scenes of, you know, making it all work, making the wheels go around. Well, tell us a little bit about, like, I know that's kind of putting you in a vulnerable space, but tell us some of the mistakes you made or what not to do. Because I know you talk about that a little bit.
Sure. So the biggest mistake I think that I ever made early on was not asking for help. You know, because from early on in my career, I was made to feel that I wasn't good enough, wasn't going to be good enough. I was constantly fighting to prove I was. And I was terrified to ask for help when I started my own business, because I was hell-bent on figuring it out myself and proving to the world how, you know, successful I could be. And it held me back probably, you know, a few years where I could have gotten a lot more growth a lot quicker, but I was just too proud. I was too scared for someone to think I was incompetent or couldn't handle it. And so that was probably the most costly mistake that I made, because if I would have hired a coach sooner, I would have been ahead a lot quicker. And that still hurts today. Still, you know, it really does. And the second is the confidence factor. You know, I wish I would have believed in myself sooner. I wish I would have been okay with promoting myself sooner and what I do, and really believing in the impact that we make. So those two things are probably the ones that I believe held me back the most in growing the company.
You know, you talk about getting that help. I remember having reaching out and did some real estate investment with a group that I thought knew way more than I did. They had been in the business for a long time, and they actually ended up stealing a lot of money from me. So there's that level of how do you vet the people and find the right people to align with? Because I think that's a scary thing for women too. It's like, well, I'm going to trust somebody with my money, or I'm going to take this leap to invest in X, Y, and Z. And what if I lose it all or go underneath? So it's that part. And then I want you to talk about, so asking like, how do you vet people? Mm-hmm. And then a lot of our audience, you know, may not have a lot to start with. They're just doing paycheck to paycheck. How do you get started to build wealth when you're just paycheck to paycheck?
Sure. So, two questions. And the first is, how do you vet someone to work with? I think there's one loosey-goosey answer of the go with your intuition. I think that's really important. Women have that, and when we listen, we're usually right. And so there's that one intuitive piece. If the relationship, the conversation initially doesn't feel right, something feels off, trust that and move on. There's plenty of people to interview and work with. But second to that is asking the right questions. And so it's really important to ask the questions like, have you helped people like me? Tell me some scenarios. Talk to me about examples. Do you have the type of experience that I'm actually seeking? Sometimes when we're stressed out in business, it's easy to grab the first thing that comes our way because anything feels like a relief, when often we throw money at the wrong solutions and it ends up not getting us the result that we were seeking. It was just a short-term relief. And so it's really important to make sure that the person you're looking for help with is able to get you the specific result that you're looking for. And then if especially even in a business coaching scenario, but wealth building too, right? You want to work with someone who is experienced or achieved what you want to achieve. Very, very important. You don't want to work with a financial advisor who just filed bankruptcy, or you don't want to work with a business coach who's only achieved 6 figures in their business and you want to grow to 7. There's very different stages to that. So asking those questions. And then another really good thing too is looking at their referrals, looking at their references, and seeing what other people are saying. Because again, that proof in the pudding is really important too, just to be sure that you're not just kind of getting sold this bucket of hopes and dreams. So, and we actually put a list together of questions to ask a financial advisor too, for individuals to go and interview, because we truly believe that we want it to be a two-way fit. We're not the right fit for everybody. And we encourage people to talk to 2 or 3 people and pick the one that you want to be with for a long time. And then how do you get started building wealth without wealth? You start. That is the key. You start. You don't need wealth to build it. But what you do need to do is think about, where am I right now? Where is my money going? And can I choose to be more intentional? Again, sometimes we tell ourselves this lie, like we can't or we won't or we'll wait until then. And the reality of it is if you take a look at everything that you're currently doing, you can probably start. And so even if it's as simple as just putting 3 to 5% away in your 401k plan, if you work for an employer, or starting to do it yourself in your own investment account, I promise you, that money is going to snowball, and there's so much value in the time value of money. But it's really taking an overall look of what you currently have, what's coming in, what's going out, and then where can you simply start in terms of setting money aside and saving it. But then what are your goals, right? And making sure that you're starting to put your money where your goals are, and getting real with yourself there too, because so often we're busy as hell and we just don't realize what we're doing. And often we don't even realize that sometimes where we're putting our money is in direct conflict with actually, what we want to achieve or who we want to become. So looking at that from the get-go is super important. But then again, of course, just starting and then being disciplined. What you do every day matters so much more than what you do once in a while.
I love that you said write it down, like write down your goals, because you can have a vision of what you want and be like moving towards something. But like you said, if you don't have it concrete, like your SMART goals, or having it written down exactly what you're shooting for, then you're not going to achieve it. You're going to, like you said, you might be veering off to what you're really wanting to achieve.
You're exactly right.
So tell us a little bit about, let's kind of jump into the business part of it. What are strategies for growth for a business? How do you attack the strategies for growth for a business?
Sure. So the first thing is, what is growth to you? And so looking at where you currently are right now and where you want to go. Growth is a relative term. It means something different for everyone. And so I think the first thing is asking yourself what that is. And then from there, reverse engineering and saying, okay, if I really want to scale or I want to grow to X, will my current business model get me there or not? And sometimes we actually don't realize that we're only one person. If we keep going at this rate, it's never going to happen. And so really taking that internal audit and seeing if your current business model will get you there. Do you need to tweak your systems? Do you need to add automation? Do you need to grow your team? Or do you need to actually add a scalable service or product? Sometimes, especially in service-based industries, we don't realize that if we die, our business dies. If we can't work, our business dies. And so, really taking a look at that as well. And then the next part of that is not only does your business model allow for the growth that you want to have, will your current pricing get you there? And so how much time are you spending per sale, not only with the client if you're service-based, but we forget to add in the before and after part. And then does your current pricing model allow for growth? Does your current pricing model allow for you to have the take-home pay that you want to have, the profit that you want to have? I think sometimes we get so hung up on revenue, we forget that the profit's the only thing that counts. And so, taking a look at those things are really a good start.
Yeah, I like how you said, taking a look at, can you get to the goal that you want with your current model? Because I think a lot of times, like we were talking about before, you feel like you can do it all yourself. You have to prove something. And once you start hiring people and actually get a bigger company, you can't take on all the responsibilities yourself. You do have to outsource and let other people do the work. And I think a lot of times as women, we definitely take on too much and say, oh, we got that, instead of actually asking for the help, like you said before, and having that mindset of, I can have a bigger company and have employees and have all these things and it will work out.
Yeah. I mean, it's so important as a business owner to, as much as you can, focus on your zone of genius and not your zone of competence. Anything in your zone of competence, ultimately you want to hire that out, right? And just keep working higher and higher toward that zone of genius, because truly that's where you're going to be the most profitable, the most productive. And then the best way to really put people who have then your zone of competence, their zone of genius, to really maximize the potential of your company.
And management, what do you teach about management? Because that's such a big piece too, to be able to manage people, and people get overwhelmed with that.
Oh, yes. It's good times. So I think the part is first of all, depending on who you need to fill your team, if you are leading or managing, those are two very different things. And then if that is the case, what types of people do you need? And what I actually encourage business owners to do is, when you're looking at filling your team and who you need to fill those roles, think of psychographics first, then the actual demographics and the skill set that they need to have. Because oftentimes you can coach and train skills, you can't coach and train the soft skills, the personality, the culture fit, the self-starter, the person who's really going to fit. And so that is going to be your biggest investment that you make in your company, is your team. And so finding the right people and not being, I think, blinded by just a resume is really, really critical. So that's the first thing, is taking a look at that. But then when you're looking at your team and managing your team and leading them, it's very important to be open-minded. It's important to make sure that you're setting a cadence for regular reviews and looking within as well. I love the 360 review style, where, when you do that review with your employees and you're asking them, hey, what can I continue doing? What can I start doing? What can I stop doing? Those are scary questions to ask, but the feedback is invaluable. It really is. And making sure that you are giving them the feeling to have ownership in their position as well. And making sure that they have the confidence and the latitude to really run with their job, and they feel comfortable being creative, comfortable giving feedback and advice as well. You're hiring them to do their job. You're hiring them to lead that department of your company. You shouldn't be hiring someone that you need to micromanage. That's a waste of your time. So, those few things there are important considerations.
do you think the biggest mistake business owners make that you see when you're coaching them, when they come into your program?
Oh, well, I think the first is not realizing their potential. A lot of women just don't realize or want to own right away what they're capable of achieving because it's really terrifying. And they often wait too long to hire. Another thing, I know you only asked for one, but hiring the wrong people. Women, I find, and maybe it's just the women in my circles, but I did the same thing, is we hire the person that we're friends with or the easy hire before we ask about if they're the hire who actually has the correct skill set for what my business needs, because it's easy to go with what's comfortable instead of going with what's going to require a little bit more effort when you're already spread so freaking thin, right? And we're people pleasers by nature. And so if somebody is saying, hey, you can help me, or I can help you, let me work with you or be part of your company, the easy answer is, oh my God, sure. Versus taking a step out and really having a critical thought process around that.
Yeah, I think that's key. Well, let's bring it back to money. What do you think the top 3 investments are right now? I know there's a lot of talk about cryptocurrency and NFTs, and there's a lot of talk about real estate and virtual real estate. Like, what would you say are the top 3 investments people should look at and where they're putting their money?
Sure. So as being a licensed financial advisor, I really can't give specific advice about the top 3 investments. But what I would say is that you should look to invest in what you understand. Really important. You can make a lot of money in the NFT space, in the crypto space, in real estate, or the traditional stock market. All of those are good. But what is key and critical is that you understand it. You understand what you're doing. You understand what a good point is to buy in and what to sell. So often, and I just got this question the other day, oh, the market is going down a lot. Should I wait to invest my money? No, you should not, right? The idea is to buy low, sell high. You don't want to wait until everything's high again and then put your money in, but that's what feels right, because right now feels scary, right? So, there's this famous Warren Buffett quote of, when everybody is greedy, you should run. And when everyone is running, you should be greedy, right? And really looking at that. But I just truly can't speak enough to making sure that you understand what you're investing in and buy what you know and get. Don't buy what your friends are talking about or what you're reading about on the internet, because someone making millions of dollars in the NFT space is because they're probably extremely integrated into that network and really understanding the investments. That doesn't mean the same for you. And so, that would be my advice.
Great. Thanks for coming today, Nicholle.
Mm-hmm. My pleasure.
Tell us where we can go to find out more about you or to get your book.
Sure. So the best place to go is our Instagram account, PowHERhouse Money. And there's a link right in our bio to everything that we have, the book, our websites, the courses.
Great. Well, we'll send everyone there and put that in the show notes as well as in the description on YouTube. Thank you so much for coming today.
Thanks for coming. Remember to subscribe to our show, because we always have fantastic guests like Nicholle that are educating you, inspiring you, motivating you to make your life better every single day. And if you're thinking about writing a book, remember, we guarantee you'll be #1 bestseller with us, Elite Online Publishing. You can hit that submission button on our website and see if you qualify to work with us. We look forward to seeing you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Hey, are you looking to increase your revenue, build credibility, and elevate your brand? This podcast is brought to you by Elite Online Publishing, an innovative publishing and full spectrum marketing company. They will publish and market your book to make it a #1 bestseller. Becoming an author is the best way to market your business. So contact them at eliteonlinepublishing.com today. All of their authors become #1 bestsellers.